Are we good to go?
Um, let's try it. I haven't yet had the chance to pause the audio. It's taken a little time.
Mm.
So, but if you want, you can go ahead and then I'll watch for that opportunity if it starts to double us up. So please do proceed. It looks like it's going to buffer for a while.
Sounds good. Oh, it is echoing for
It
us.
is going, darn it.
Yeah, and you can't just mute the compute. Oh, wait, is it back? Are we good?
I think we're good.
Okay,
Just now.
perfect. Well, then I am going to call this meeting of the Human Rights Commission's Process Task Force to order. The date is September 23rd and it is 5:01 p.m. Um, we does not seem like we have any guests or public today, so I'm just going to jump us right into the agenda. We're going to start with welcomes and introductions. I'm Ilana Lynn. I'm the chair of this task force and a member of the commission. I use they, them pronouns and live in Four Corners. And I'll pass it off to Kelsey. We'll do Zoom first and then jump to the room.
Hello, everyone. My name is Kelsey Murray. I use she, her pronouns, and I am the vice chair of the Human Rights Commission, and I hang out in Salem. I don't know. Joaquin.
Yes, you do, Kelsey. Good afternoon, everybody. On Zoom today, a rarity for me, but I got it to work. So, good afternoon, and my name is Joaquin. I'm a member of the commission and a resident of Ward 8. Kira, go ahead.
Hey everybody, my name is Kira Pressey. I am a member of this commission and a member of this task force, and I use she, her pronouns. And we'll jump to Gretchen.
Hi, everyone. It's Gretchen Bennett, she, her pronouns, staff liaison to the Human Rights Commission in this task force, and we'll welcome Robert.
Hello, everybody. My name is Robert Marshall. I live in Ward 2, work in Ward 1. I am a commissioner on the Human Rights Commission and a member of this task force.
And I think we skipped over Hamadi.
That was totally my fault. I'm sorry.
It's cool. I don't mind. It's all good. I am Marty Jackson. I am the chair of the Human Rights Commission, member of this task force. And yeah, I'll pass it back to our fearless leader.
Thank you, thank you. So did we receive any public comment? Is that what the memorandum is that you shared with us, Gretchen?
We did not receive any public comment. The memorandum that I shared is just something that might be of interest as you're contemplating procedures. It's some guidance that the city received related to that the city prepared related to basically disruptions in meetings. And so I knew that would be relevant reading for you as you're thinking about that part of it.
Perfect. Thank you for that context. Well, then, seeing no public comment, we will move on to the consent calendar. Do I have a motion to approve the agenda and minutes from our last meeting?
Make a motion to approve the consent calendar.
I'll second that.
Beautiful. We have a motion and a second. All in favor, say aye, give a thumbs up, make some indication.
Aye.
Okay, all opposed, speak up now. Beautiful. Looks like we have unanimous consent on that. And now moving right along to the draft procedures. Thank you so much, Kelsey, for your drafts. I know that mine were shared at the very last minute. Sorry about that, everyone. So we probably will have a more robust conversation about Kelsey's drafts. Am I able to screen share? I believe I am.
I believe you are too.
Would that be something that the group is interested in?
Yes.
Okay, let me pull that up real quick. There we go. Okay.
As long as Kelsey's cat gives the presentation.
Yeah, I would love that, please. Okay, Kelsey, is there anything you would like to just share generally about your thinking or just any framing you want to give us?
I don't think so. There are a couple of notes here a little bit lower that like I really just want like a deeper conversation because I wasn't really quite sure how to go with it, and then like what kind of like Zoom features the city is able to have. But yeah, I mean, I'm not attached to any of this, so if you hate it, cool. If you love it, cool.
Right. Well, I did not see anything I hated. So I would propose that we just go through, I'll slowly scroll and we'll just discuss about each topic as we go through it. Sound good? Okay.
Would
So
it be helpful if we read it?
oh yes.
I don't know if that would be helpful.
How does the group feel? Does anyone want this read? Do we want to read it ourselves?
Let's read it out loud in case anyone who might be viewing this needs it read out loud.
This is true.
I
Okay.
mean,
Ability
I'm
advantage.
driving, so I can't really, I'm still on the clock, so I'm driving moments, so I can't.
I can give a crack at it if that'd be fine.
Yeah, go for
English
it.
isn't my first language, but hey, we can try, right?
Yeah, we can all pass it around like we used to in high school. Take turns.
Oh, you participated in those things in high school? I did not. Yeah. Roles and definitions and guidelines, according to Commissioner Murray, drafted by Commissioner Murray. Regarding guest presenters or speakers, a guest speaker or presenter is an individual or individuals invited to speak or deliver a presentation on a specific topic or area of expertise relevant to the meeting's purpose. Unlike the public, staff, or commissioners, a guest presenter is typically brought in from outside the group to provide valuable insights, share knowledge, or offer a unique perspective. They often enhance the meeting's content and provide information or training that benefits the participants. Once the meeting has progressed past the guest topic or agenda item, the guest will become a member of the public and will be asked to follow the rules outlined in the member of the public section.
Okay, so for time and consistency, I'm just gonna ask that if you have edits or like things you would like to change that we share them. But if it's just like pontificating on the topic itself, maybe we can share that for or save that for future discussions or leaving comments in the document. How does that sound? Okay, cool. So any revisions that we see fit to this first section? I think it sounds lovely.
I wasn't sure if we wanted to capitalize staff or not. I think yes.
I am
Staff?
not a grammar person. Gretchen, how do you feel?
My first instinct is to not capitalize it,
Same.
but I'm not a smart grammar person either.
It's not a proper noun, so it's not.
Yeah, it would make sense to
Yeah.
leave it not capitalized.
And commissioners?
Commissioners is a title,
Perfect.
so it could be in the same way that. Anyways, okay. Shall I move on?
Yeah.
Member of the public. A member of the public is any individual who is not a commissioner, City of Salem official, or City of Salem employee. This person could be a concerned community member, a stakeholder, someone interested in the topics being discussed or the work of the Human Rights Commission. The public will be asked to keep their comments within the public comment portion of the meeting. If a member of the public wishes to comment or ask a question outside of public comment, they may raise their hand to be recognized at the discretion of the chair. City of Salem official and employee. So the City of Salem repeated, I think, is a little redundant.
Yeah.
But I'm
You could probably drop City of Salem employee because we're all technically public officials too.
yeah.
Oh,
All public employees are public officials by default.
oops, whoops.
Kelsey. I'm appreciating you making edits. Thank you.
Okay. Any other comments on this section? I think it is a good definition. I don't have any edits. Beautiful. We can come back if anything comes up for you guys. Moving on to the next session.
Rules of order for public comments. These rules help ensure that public comments are managed effectively and that meetings proceed smoothly, allowing for community input and engagement. Number 1, sign-up procedure. Individuals wishing to speak must sign up before the meeting begins and during a designated sign-up period. A sign-up sheet or online registration may be provided.
Okay, so this is one that Kelsey wanted feedback on. We had a pretty robust discussion about how we wanted people to sign up for public comment in the last meeting. And I think that having a sign-up sheet or online registration is fair. Is this where you say that, yeah, designated sign-up period? How do we feel about this?
I think that sounds perfect. I think that's pretty much right on par with what we discussed.
So I have a question for Kelsey, or I guess all of us. During a designated sign-up period, how does one designate a sign-up period? Is that discretion of the chair? Is that something that we agree on before as part of the agenda? Help me understand that.
Yeah, that was so like a couple of thoughts. I know with like city council meetings, there is like you have before this time to like register for public comment. Like during our third meeting about the Gaza resolution, it was like from the doors open until the meeting starts.
Right.
So like we can do whatever with that.
I think adding it as like a designated agenda item that just like the chair says, if you want to sign up for public comment and you have not already registered, please do so by notifying Gretchen as soon as possible and be like, you have 10 minutes to do it or something like that.
So should we say sign-up period as designated by the chair? I mean, not to be nitpicky, but this kind of is the time to be nitpicky.
Yeah, no, absolutely. Be nitpicky.
How about a sign-up sheet or online registration may be provided when possible or when it's not, I don't know how workable that always will be, right? Because it's ultimately on staff to have capacity for that. And if there's a trillion people online, then that's probably not workable. I mean, I don't know. I saw similar language elsewhere, if memory serves.
Sorry, what are we? Can you say that again? What can I change?
At the end of the last sentence there, the chair may provide a sign-up sheet or online registration. What did I say? When possible?
What if you did as needed? Would
Oh,
that be sufficient, Joaquin?
Sure. I mean, I think yeah, I mean, as needed is fine. My only concern is that it's really easy to get a lot more folks online than there is in person, and so valiant as Gretchen is, it may be hard for her to always do that. And so I'm just kind of wary of capacity, but as is fine.
Are chats disabled during our meetings?
Yes.
Could we edit it to be where you can only message the host? And then we can say, please notify Gretchen or message through the chat that you would like to sign up for public comment.
I can ask that question. The city had disabled the Zoom chat because it wasn't visible to the YouTube for sharing, but I can ask if there's a mechanism to still message the host that's permitted.
Yeah, I know other state agencies do that where you can only message the staff. And then it's just to like sign up or like ask questions about like the procedures.
Mhm. Great. I will check on that. Yeah, I can see Joaquin's point about wanting some wiggle room in this on the online piece. I know for the city council, I believe they have a system that has a limited number of slots, and they'll manage that during the daytime, and it could be interesting on any given day, if that technology doesn't work or if you get more than is there. I'd need to think about that a little bit and see if we'd be infallible or not.
And then just one small thing, it says during a designated sign up period designated by the chair. If we can just get rid of one of those designated. Thank you. Okay, so it seems like this is good for now, and then once we have an answer on the Zoom chat, we will come back to it. Is that how everyone is feeling?
Yeah.
Okay,
Shall I move forward?
yes, please.
Number 2, order of speaking. Speakers will be called upon in the order they signed up or on a first come, first served basis. Is it first served past tense? Have I been wrong the entire? That's awesome. I love that. I love learning new things. I used to say we'll play it by year instead of play it by ear. Anyways, if a specific time is allocated for public comments, speakers will be called upon during that time.
Go ahead and read the monitor in if you don't mind.
All right. Monitoring. Zoom features, hand raises, options. Let's see. Real time. Chair should have a laptop screen in front of them to monitor raised hands in order to take a speakers list in real time. In person, then Zoom. If this is what we choose, online commissioner will take speakers list from virtual attendees who raise their hand. And then last there's a note about timer, the ability to mute another speaker, 10-second grace time, then mic will be shut off.
So obviously these little parts were just me like being like, so like, yeah, what Zoom features does the city have access to? Can we do raised hands? Like hand raises would be the easiest for sure, because then they'll order them and by the time that people do the hand raise. We could also, if we want a more like real time, like Zoom in person, Zoom in person, Zoom, then the chair would have to like monitor that. Or if we decide Zoom, then in person, or in person, then Zoom,
Well,
those are options.
speaking to that, I mean, if we're talking about prioritization, I would say that we prioritize questions and everything that come from people in person. Those guests and everything, kind of made the effort to, identify the meeting location and present at the meeting location to get their voice heard. And typically, generally, the prioritization goes to those that are in person first, and then I think moving on to running the gamut of the Zoom order of speakers that Zoom will automatically build for us.
I can confirm we do have the hand raise thing functioning, but I haven't seen the cities do the numbers like I've seen others. So I might need to look into why don't the numbers show up. But I do. Go ahead, Elena.
I think that's a feature on Teams only that it counts. I don't think Zoom ever adds a number. I could be wrong though.
No, I'm thinking so like everyone who is online, if you want to go ahead and raise your hand.
Mm-hmm.
So like.
Oh, are you prompting us, Kelsey? Okay.
Yeah.
So Kelsey was first, but if somebody else pops up, see, there's not a 2.
So
it just says 2 participants. Oh, Gretchen, go down to participants.
Oh, but there might be a list. Robert's helping me go to participants.
Well, also it's just like how they appear on your screen.
Yeah.
So like, Kelsey was first, so Kelsey was first on the screen. And like see how Kira just like popped up. Yeah. Sorry, I just can't figure out how to raise my hand.
No, you're good. You're good. So
can I see the notes?
Yeah.
So like
Robert's gonna
Joaquin,
take the con.
will be first, and then Kira, and then me. And then if Kira lowers her hand
Sounds. Yeah,
and
but it
then puts
doesn't.
it back.
Yeah, but it doesn't add a prioritization list on Gretchen's end. So as we'd be using Gretchen's tech setup, it just lets us know how many hands are raised. It doesn't prioritize or order them.
It doesn't order them on
No.
the screen?
When you look at the screen, you didn't see them moving around based on their hand selection, like at our actual camera.
I may
Okay,
have,
so-
but I had a question about that. Kelsey, did you put your hand down and then back up?
Yes.
Okay, because then I saw Joaquin move, and then when you came back
Okay.
up, you
Yes.
were in the third position after Kira.
Yeah, so that's how it does it. The first person who raised their hand will be on like the top left of your screen, or like the top if you're in
Oh
this
my
view.
goodness. Well, Microsoft does it better. Probably one of the only times I'll say that out loud.
Yeah,
So
agreed.
that's just this item to help our public know if you drop your hand, you'll end up getting dropped to the end of the online list.
Yes.
So going back to Robert's point a moment ago, I think I agree, but for totally different reasons. I think we should just take one at a time, whether it's in person or Zoom. I think it's unfair to say that folks who are there in person are there because should go first because they're there in person. But I think I get Robert's point, which is just that we should have a more orderly way of doing it. So we're not toggling back and forth. That's hard and kind of taxing, and can leave. We can overlook people that way. Kelsey's nodding her head because it's what we experienced.
Yeah, I agree. I don't have a preference whether we do Zoom or in person first, but it'd be way less chaotic if we did that rather than like real time.
Yeah, I would I also don't like let in people or like favor in almost people who come in person as someone who's often virtual and have been in spaces where I don't get to speak because I wasn't able to be in person. It does like hinder my experience at least. What I would suggest is maybe doing like say we'll do 3 in person then 3 virtual because doing 1 for 1 is a lot of back and forth. But that way it's still or like 3 to 5, like people in person then people on Zoom type of situation.
I think it just gets way too confusing when we start adding, like if we have a topic where we have 20, 25, different, speakers and, some of them are in person, some of them are virtual, and then we're, trying to run this tally. And we kind of ran into it, in a similar situation where we're trying to run the tally of, like in-person, questions versus Zoom questions. I think we just need to determine, are we going to take X questions from platform first and then questions from a different platform versus, all right, we're going to do 2 here, 3 on Zoom, 1 on person, then 5 on Zoom, and then 2 on, it brings me back to all the math classes that I ever failed in school. I think we just need to, this, like one platform, then we move to questions on another, then we move to questions on another. I mean, whether or not we do virtual first and then in person or in person then virtual, I mean, I could go either way, but if I was in a position where I had to try to manage questions on multiple different platforms, I would want to just run the list on one and then start running the list on another.
Yeah, my one fear with doing like whole groups at a time, like obviously this isn't an issue in our usual meetings because we aren't going to have so much public comment that it overwhelms the meeting. But if we have like 10 people in person and they each talk for however long we decide they can talk for, let's say that we capped it at 5 minutes, that's already an hour basically spent on people in person. And then the agenda is just going to run out of time before people on Zoom can finish. I see this happen so often where the people on Zoom are just cut off or unable to speak because the agenda just didn't have enough time for them. And like, yes, that's something that we need to manage, but it does favor whatever group goes first, and there's no way to avoid that.
So Ilana, a couple of things. Our bylaws limit public comment to 3 minutes. And so that saves 2 minutes per person there. But your problem still stands. I think it's especially a problem for these special meeting classes that we've kind of been talking about off and on and a roundabout way over our conversations here, right? When those meetings lasted multiple hours, and the bulk of them are public comment, right? And so we know it's a very real thing. I'm wondering if and I think that there's a set of rules that we need to devise for those meetings in particular. I'm wondering for general meetings or for regular meetings, whatever you want to call them, if and I hate to do this, I'm not even sure how I feel about it, but I'm wondering if we should cap the number of people who can provide public comment online and in person, so that a public comment period would never exceed, say, an hour. I know that's kind of icky because it introduces the idea that not everyone maybe who wants to talk can, but it does create a structure that allows those who are there and sign up to give it equally, whether you're online or in person. So I don't know. I'm not advocating for that per se. It's just an idea.
Is that something we're allowed to do, Gretchen? Not saying that I like feel a certain way about it, but are we even allowed to?
We are. I checked into that back in April. You're allowed to limit the overall time that you provide to public comment. It can be challenging in communicating that early and often so that people know, and so that people know how that will work exactly. Like, is it first come, first serve? So folks should come early if they really value having a chance to talk. Another observation I might offer is just that might sometimes be hard on the commission if you find yourself in a situation where you really feel you need additional public comment, but you're limited by what's coming. But then you could always choose to call additional meetings, so that might be your out. So just a couple of thoughts there.
Kira, I saw your hand go up briefly.
No, I was actually going to ask the same question that you were, but I looked it up, and yeah, you can limit. So
so with the limitation though, and while we're talking limitation, I think that would also be difficult in terms of Zoom. I mean, like in person, I mean, you can limit it by the first 10 people that sign up on the sign up sheet. But then are we for Zoom, when do we open that and allow people to start raising their hand? Like, so somebody, some Zoom folks might not log in until 6 o'clock when they think the meeting is going to start. And then is it a mad dash for hand raises then? Are we asking people as they sign on, each person as they sign on, do you intend to, do you intend to submit public comment? So I guess what does the window look like for virtual people and logging essentially that order of march?
Got it. So I might have made an assumption that has been altered in the way that I see this. Do we not have like in registration for public comment? Is that not because I mean, what I think, if this is not what we're doing, is that you should pre-register if you plan to submit public comment so that we can adjust for that appropriately. Is something happening in the room?
There was a pop-up that said Hamadi was in the waiting room, and then
I think he disappeared. Ilana, I hope you'll accept our apology. We got confused because we thought we saw Hamadi come into the waiting room, but now we can't find him. And so we were momentarily looking for Hamadi.
Lost Hamadi.
I was still fumbling through my thought process.
Okay,
with you?
Robbie's gonna keep them out.
And then that way you're not
And
going
we
to try
can't find
to
him,
juggle
so
two
I
different
think he's
things.
dropped out. Thank you.
You're welcome.
So kind. So you were asking me, would you mind repeating your question? And I apologize.
Yeah. So do we ask for people to register for public comment before our meetings?
Thank you for asking that. For pre-COVID, I used to always have a public comment sign-up sheet, and I could bring that back in the in-person environment. On Zoom, I think it's been Audible instead. There hasn't been a sign up online opportunity for us yet. And we've tried, I remember with the largest meeting, the meeting in Pringle Hall, we identified a commission member to, as people were coming into the Zoom, to be checking to see if they wanted to provide public comment. I think it got tricky very quickly with the volume of people and made people, it wasn't orderly to have that question asked by each person. But we can certainly bring back a public comment sign-in sheet experience. It is interesting to think about how to do it systematically online.
How do they do it for city council?
Yeah, I might need to get a more detailed understanding. My understanding is there's a window of time earlier in the day where interested persons request to get a slot. And then only those persons are given the Zoom link. Generally speaking, people watch city council on YouTube if they're not planning on giving comment. But if you've been slotted into one of those public comment online slots, then you're provided the Zoom link and we need the email address. And so we kind of pre-screen earlier in the day and then invite a person in.
Maybe that would be, almost an easier way to do it. And then we're not having to juggle at the last minute who's providing comment or not, because then we've already gotten, that list. We've already, like you're able to vet it, or somebody's able to vet it and everything earlier in the day rather than, drinking from a fire hose at 6 o'clock and being inundated with, hey, here's an open link. And then, 150 people are like, I want to provide comment. And then you're like, well, how do we adjust and shift fire from here?
Yeah, so that's what I meant when I asked about like registering beforehand. That's what I'm used to in like all of the other places that I sit, is so on the public platform where our meetings are posted, it says like, please reach out if you want to submit public comment. And then you have to register for it. Some of the more lax ones do also then ask, like on the Zoom or in person, if anyone else would like to submit public comment, to please notify staff like immediately, or to message in the chat just like your name and that you want to submit public comment. So I would say a sign-up sheet is probably going to be hard to manage, like in the room in person, but like a pre-registered list is the most ideal in my head, but it does put a limitation on public comment. Kira.
I think I do love the idea of the pre-registered, because it kind of lines up with several other entities that do that, including like the school board. You have to sign up 2 days before, or they open it 2 days before. My only concern would be is if we went strictly to that, just because then you're talking an accessibility issue, because not everyone has the ability to get online and fill out a form and sign up. So if we're making that the only way that they can talk, I mean, of course, at the discretion of the chair could always say, yeah, sure, you can talk. But I feel like it runs into an accessibility issue if we say only this way.
Agreed.
Yeah, I wouldn't say we adopted that process across the board. I think we would still, we adopted that for people that want to provide comment virtually, but anybody that wants to provide comment in person can still do so up until, the chair calls the meeting to order. Similar to, city council, the sign-up sheets are available in the foyer. Am I correct? And like,
Yeah.
people can sign up,
We used
like,
to do that, yeah. We could do that
like
again.
people can sign up, right up to the point or thing where, the chair calls the meeting to order.
That begs a question of time constraint, because one of the things city council generally doesn't limit the volume of time that they provide to public comment. And so if there's limited online slots, but not limited in-person slots, and you want to do a time limit, I wonder how you balance, like maybe all the online slots take up all the time because they were signed up first. I don't know, it just might be something to think through.
Yeah, I think that starts to get towards what I was drafting in the procedures of add-in time to all of our agenda items. And so that would built into that would be also set in a time for public comment. So like in the draft I did, I don't know what I said. I said like 10 minutes because it was for one of like our general meetings where we usually have like 1 to 2 people. So I think that that is built into it if we adopt that procedure. Okay, so Kira, go ahead, and then I think that we should move on for time's sake.
Yeah. I think, you know what? Never mind. I'm gonna save it. We'll move on.
Okay. So just to summarize what I have heard from this section is we are interested in a pre-registration sign up for in-person or virtual public comment. You just need to let us know what you plan to do. And then we are also trying to figure out the best way to facilitate in the moment public comments of people who show up and did not pre-register and how to manage that. Does that sound like a good retelling? Okay, great. We will come back to this then. Moving on, go ahead and read all of 3 to 5 to 8 if you're willing to.
Always willing. Number 3, format. After being called on, individuals should introduce themselves with their first and last names. While giving public comment, members of the public will address the commissioners and not the audience. Number 4, time limit. Each member of the public is allowed a maximum of 3 minutes to speak and may only provide 1 comment per public comment portion or special meeting topic. The chair may adjust this time limit as necessary depending on the number of speakers and the agenda. Number 5, relevance. Comments must be relevant to the agenda items or the specific topic of the meeting. The chair may rule off-topic comments out of order. 6, respect and decorum. All comments must be made respectfully and without personal attacks. Disruptive behavior, including shouting, interruptions, or derogatory remarks, will not be tolerated. Speakers who do not comply with these guidelines may be asked to leave. 7, no rebuttals. Speakers are not allowed to engage in direct rebuttals or arguments with other speakers or meeting participants. If clarification or response is needed, the chair will handle it. 8, discretion of the chair. The chair has the authority to enforce these rules, including the right to extend or limit speaking time and to ensure the orderly conduct of the meeting. The chair's decisions on matters of order are final.
Okay, does anyone have any revisions or things they would like to change about these?
If someone has a better way to put the chair will handle it, that'd be appreciated.
We'll address, if clarification or response is needed, the chair will address that item.
I just put speakers are not allowed to engage the direct rebuttals or arguments with other speakers or meeting participants. The chair will address any clarifications, just responses.
Just an idea that I have seen in other meetings, and I'm putting out there is some committees and boards say we will not address public comment in this meeting, meaning like the commission and the public are not allowed to respond to the things said during the public comment period. They do this so that way the commission has a time to process it and think about it internally before responding on a public platform. I don't know how you guys feel about this, so just an idea.
Yeah, I would agree with that. I mean, we could just leave that bullet point to speakers are not allowed to engage in direct rebuttals or arguments with other speakers or meeting participants, and then just leave it at that.
Yeah, I mean, it would just add that, and the commission will not address anything said during public comment in this meeting.
So I like that, Ilana. I think the one thing I'm kind of worried about in this conversation is just we're not really making a distinction around regular or special meetings. Maybe I'm just like really focused on that, but that matters to me. So like, for example, Ilana's recommendation just now sounds great for a special meeting. For a regular meeting, I'm not so sure, so I'm wondering if, as these conversations kind of mature, if we could be more deliberate in differentiating between those two, because I think it matters.
I think that rules for public comment are the most important to be consistent across all meeting types, because that is how the public is engaging with us. So if we want to set these stricter rules, I do think it should apply for all meetings so that way, like, because if I'm a member of the public who attends all of our general meetings, and then suddenly I attend a special meeting, I'm going to be very confused by the change in format. And I also think that if people watch our meetings in preparation for wherever they decide to speak, once again, they're going to be like, why is everything so different? Why is the commission not as welcoming as it usually is? Something like that. So that's just my fear with making the public comment rules different for general versus special.
I appreciate that. I think my only reaction would be why then have a special? I feel like special meetings are meant to be special because they're special and different. And then, or the way that we engage with the public differs in a special meeting, and that to me would seem relevant when devising rules for how to engage the public. So I don't know. I'm open to your perspective. I'm wondering then why have a special meeting?
I'm so glad you mentioned that. That's why I didn't draft the criteria for what a special meeting and what a general meeting should be, because I know I brought this up last time, and it's not my decision as a sole person, but I've talked with a lot of my colleagues who are in similar spaces as I am, and they also agreed that having two sets of rules is a hindrance to the public and also to the commission. And once again, I just think that we should have one set of rules. And if in the moment the chair wants to bend them a little bit for our general meetings, who's going to be upset about that? But we should have the procedures and formats consistent across all meeting types. So I just wanted to reopen that conversation to see if, with further reflection, if anyone feels the same. And if not, I will stop bringing it up and we can move on.
Yeah, I think I love rules. Rules are very important to me as my personality. But I think with what our goal is as the Human Rights Commission, to be a welcoming, equitable space where people can share concerns and get support, and to work to make Salem a more welcoming place. I don't want to get too formal in most of our meetings. I think that's one thing people like about our meetings is that we are so informal, and it makes them feel a little bit more comfortable. And I think these rules are going to be great when we have meetings with difficult subjects or lots of people. But I think putting these rules in a regular meeting makes our meetings less fun to go to, less welcoming, less open feeling. And so that's my concern about having just one set of rules. I know it makes things a little bit more difficult, but I think it's worth it.
I do tend to side with Alana on the fact that it makes things easier on the public and the commission, only because my background is definitely more formal. And so I see how it fosters a smoother meeting process. That being said, I also understand what you guys are both saying as keeping keeping it the way that it is, in that it does foster a better relationship with the community, and it doesn't provide so much barriers, I guess, as a more formal meeting does. I think one way that we could potentially make it a little bit easier is that when we do have these special meetings, if that's the way that we choose to go, you know, these rules are addressed ahead of time with the public, you know, or at the beginning of the meeting, so that there isn't any confusion about the fact that this is not a normal meeting. This is not our general meetings, and these rules will apply. But yeah, I see both sides.
If 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 our objective here is to make recommendations and present recommendations to the commission, I would recommend that we explore what the set of rules would look like and what the criteria would look like for a special meeting and present that to the commission and let that be a roll call vote. Because I think, you know, us trying to make the decision on whether or not we try to also pivot after, you know, these agenda topics to, you know, a special meeting, I think we owe it to our colleagues on the commission to present both sides of it and allow for, you know, that collaborative decision to be made rather than, you know, not doing the due diligence to put it forward at all. So I would say that we've talked about regular and special meetings. I think we should add that to part of what we discuss here, you know, present that material and then let the commission decide, okay, do we want, you know, regular and special meetings, and do we want different, you know, sets of rules for each? Or, you know, do we just stick with, you know, this general document and we adopt it across the board?
Yeah, I think that's a good point. For our like own capacity reasons, I'd like to put it to the commission for a vote on if we should draft just one set of rules or special and general meeting rules before we draft all of them, because that's a whole lot of work if we're making two different sets of rules and then the commission says only make one, or vice versa. So how would we feel about I could share a summary of the discussions we've had about why some meetings might require a separate set of rules. And then also why we are focused on like making our space welcoming, and see what the commission wants us to move forward with before drafting, or maybe I'll just draft the criteria of what makes a special meeting and what is a general meeting. I just don't want us to do a ton of work and then the commission have us do something completely different. Does that make sense to everyone? Does anyone have feelings on this?
Can I put all my cards on the table here?
Yeah, please do.
in our conversation? I actually don't. So I guess I was misunderstanding. I thought what we were reading right now were rules for a general meeting, just like a regular meeting. That's what I understood that we were doing right now. So
Yeah.
for me, a special meeting is not different from a general meeting in rule. It's a different from a general meeting in procedure and results and process. So for example, the rules around, you know, how we engage and with whom and in what way and in what time, these are the same between a special meeting and a general meeting. To Ilana's, I think, earlier point, they're the same, so as to not create confusion. In other words, it won't be 3 minutes in a regular meeting and 5 minutes in a special meeting. I'm not interested in that. But I do think that I guess my motivation for a special meeting is just that, as learned with the Gaza thing, and as I can imagine there being in other situations, there are times when our regular meeting format, our monthly scheduled agenda-based meeting, does not facilitate decision-making and public engagement such that we can make robust recommendations to council or mayor. And so that requires us to have, in my view, it requires us to take time to think more carefully and do our due diligence when it comes to a special issue, whether it's a policy recommendation, a resolution, whatever that is, that just can't be fit meaningfully on as an agenda item. And that's when we have a special meeting. It's the same rules of engagement. But then in addition to when we have a special task ahead of us, all these other special things, you know, come into play. That to me is a special meeting as opposed to a regular meeting. I see the rules as being the same.
Okay,
Or
so
roughly
you
the same.
see everything that we've read so far would be the same for a general meeting and a special meeting, but a special meeting just has a much longer public comment period, or a way more robust discussion on a single topic by the commission.
and mechanisms that lead to recommendations in a way for the commission to arrive at a place of recommendation. Because right now we don't have a mechanism to produce recommendations. Does that make sense?
Yeah. So
I'm not sure if I'm being clear
your
enough.
idea of like a special session, a special meeting is just like a meeting with a single focus. And
Correct.
that is public comment, commission discussion, and outcomes.
That's right.
Interesting. Okay.
That's what I guess not very well. That's what I've been trying to communicate from the outset of these conversations. I don't view them. I mean, the other one is formal because we are here to do X, and that's formal. But it's not any more or less formal than a general meeting. Now, that being said, a lot of the rules that Kelsey's put here, while great, are just putting in writing things we kind of already do in practice. You know what I mean? We was only because we don't have a large volume of people coming to our regular meetings, and so I feel like these rules, as rules often are helpful if and when we have a lot of folks at a regular meeting, and then great, we have rules and procedures to govern that. Anyways, I'll stop talking. But I really want to clarify because I think we were getting away from what I was hoping my original point was. I don't see two different rules. I see two different procedures, if that makes sense, or if that distinction means anything to anybody.
No, that makes a lot of sense because that's not what I was thinking of a special meeting as. Because that, to me, I retract my former statement. I feel like then we are totally fine. Because okay. So when making our general rules, the rules that we are reading right now, this is for all of our meetings, regardless. But when we have a specialty item come up, there will be a special set of procedures because it's not our usual, like limited to 10 minutes for public comment. It's like an hour of public comment, then an hour of discussion. So that sounds like a different procedure for the agenda. And that we need to come up with a system for outcomes and metrics.
Right. And that's the point I've been trying, again, I guess imperfectly, to bring home in the last few meetings that we've been having, is that I'm really interested in trying to find mechanisms to get us to a place of recommendation when we have a task ahead of us. I'll qualify this by saying I'm only partially in agreement. I think, and now we're getting too much in the weeds, but I think the 10-minute limit for a general meeting, I think is too small. I think if there's a large number of folks, it could be 10 people online, 10 people in person, come as they may, an hour total maximum, for example. And that would extend a regular meeting or a general meeting, but so be it. And then the rules would be different for special meetings because we're there to talk about a special thing. There's probably going to be hundreds of people there anyways, So anyways, I digress.
Okay. I think that makes sense. So I would retract my statement that we have to bring this to the commission for a vote now. I'd say we move forward with drafting the procedures we've identified as general meeting procedures, and that we will make a special meeting procedures that will address the agenda in the public comment discussion. And then Joaquin, I'd love for you to take a stab at how you want the outcomes and metrics to be drafted. Just because you're the brainchild for that concept. So I'd like to see what you mean by that before I make any assumptions.
I'm happy to do that before our next meeting.
Perfect. Okay. Great. We have 6 minutes left somehow. So, okay, I'm going to stop screen sharing because we are at the end of a section, so it's a good place to stop.
Ilana, may I flag maybe for a future meeting? I've got some feedback on numbers 6 and 7 to offer, but we are out of time. Would it be okay to reopen those next time?
Yes, please. And how would you feel about leaving your feedback as a comment on the document so that way people can address it ahead of time?
I can offer it there, but I would just advise people not to chat on it because that document isn't where the public can watch those deliberations. But I can make the edit on there, but then if folks could refrain from chatting replies.
Yes, thank you for that reminder.
Yep.
And could you include that in your chat and just say like, please don't respond, because sometimes my brain
Oh, yeah, yeah.
let me let me do that real quick. Okay, great. So, let's see, back to the agenda. We were not able to discuss any of the questions. That's okay. We will come back to them. Okay. So, if people could review the rest of Kelsey's drafts and my drafts by our next meeting so that we can have a discussion on that, that would be great. Please leave comments if you want to, and we will remember not to respond to them. And we still have more procedures for people to sign up for if you're interested, and if not, I might just divvy them up based on the comments y'all have made in meetings based on who said what.
Well, I have a clarification for Gretchen.
Yes.
Are we allowed to comment, Gretchen, even though we're not responding?
Yeah, I know. I was debating that too. I think I'll think out loud for a second. Our broad objective is to make sure your deliberations are publicly accessible in the public process. What we've tended to do before is have people submit edits to me, so it's not a dynamic experience, and then it comes out with a chance for you all to see and comment at the same time in the meeting. So that, while inefficient, would be something I could immediately say yes to. I think commenting in the document can get tricky. I was thinking about that too, Joaquin. Thanks for pausing to ask.
The reason Ilana and Kelsey do it is because two don't make quorum.
Exactly. We still want to hit quorum.
Right.
Right. That's the trick.
Okay, that makes sense. I retract my statement. Do not leave comments. Please
Sorry.
message question. No, thank you so much. We need these questions.
I think
questions.
I think we can like save my draft as a copy to your drive and then make comments on your own. So then you're ready to share them during our next meeting. So there's not like multiple people making comments. So like if you can also do that.
Yeah, good point.
Great. Everyone do your preferred method of note taken. Either share it with Gretchen or come prepared with comments and questions on your own. Are there any member remarks or announcements?
I just have a question regarding the next meeting date, October 14th. I'm not sure if the city observes it as Indigenous Persons Day as a holiday, but I know that several organizations observe that as like a federal and state holiday. So I'm not sure what the committee's preference is, or even if you're scheduled to work that.
That's
day.
a thoughtful question. Thank you. Although we recognize Indigenous Peoples Day, it's not a day away from the office.
Okay.
But it may be for some of you may not be. So
Yeah, I have that day off. It's my day, so I'm taking it.
Yeah, it's also October 14th is also my birthday, and I try to make it a point not to work on that day. So I would prefer not to have any scheduled activities for October 14th.
All right, we'll get you gifts, Robert.
No, I don't care about that. I mean,
Tomorrow.
the gift would be us moving the meeting or anything either to the left or right on the calendar.
I support that proposal. Anyone opposed? Okay. Would moving it to Tuesday work for everyone? The 15th at 5 p.m. our usual meeting time? Gretchen, specifically? That would work for you?
Yes.
Okay. Anyone else?
Gretchen will be coming straight from the Salem Speaks Up meeting.
Oh,
So
yeah. Should we try to ask for?
Can we do like 5:10?
Yeah, exactly. You read my mind.
Absolutely. Let's do 5:15. Just to, give some time. I think that's great. Anyone 5:15 to 6:15, October 15th?
We have a meeting already scheduled for the 15th. These are all good things to know.
I know. Salem Speaks Up has one for Tuesday.
Oh yeah, it's on my calendar.
Good, at 4
Great.
p.m. So then this would be 5:15
Yep.
p.m.
I'll already be here, so
Great,
perfect.
great.
There is a possibility I won't be there, but it should be. It just depends. We have a community advisory meeting that night, so
Oh,
as long as my other half is in town and I don't have to run the meeting, yeah.
Other thought would be that this was kind of a long gap because of that extra Monday in September. Another idea would be to punt to the Tuesday before and have a meeting on October 7th. If Monday, October 7th from 5 to 6 might be an alternate. I know you're past meeting time. You may just want me to send out a doodle poll, but
Can't do that one.
oh, I'll be back.
Okay, well, let's just keep it.
yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, I'd say let's do the 7th, and then if anyone, or not the 7th, the 15th. Let's
Okay.
plan for the 15th. And if any issues come up between now and then, let Gretchen know. And if needed, please send out a doodle poll if that does not work for some reason.
Yeah,
Cool.
will do.
Okay, perfect. Well, on that note, I am going to call this meeting to a close. Thank you everyone for your amazing feedback and all of the work you have done.
Bye, everybody.
Where's the remote?
Bye.
Have a good night.